I'm Longevity with the New Old Heads, and this is episode 478 with guest Brother to the Night. This week we had discussions on J. Cole and Cameron Sit Down, where J. Cole was kind of playing both sides of Drake and Kendrick, and we discussed why he was doing that. We also had a discussion on Jay-Z's take on battling, and also him being a billionaire, Mero's 4-minute takedown of DJ Akademiks, and some more. Support us and get the 2-hour uncut episode by becoming a $5 Patreon member or a YouTube member. And make sure you click the bell and turn on notifications. See you in the comments.
Check 1, check 2. You know what it is. Episode number 478 of the New Old Heads podcast. My name is Jay Moore, and I just got to go ahead and quickly introduce and say hello to some other fellas here on our dais. Yeah, that's what it is. Shout out to my man Jay Diff. How you doing, man?
Jay Texas. I'm wonderful.
Okay, back from vacation.
Yes,
feeling good, feeling great.
Wasn't much sun, but had fun.
Hey, it was probably more than it was here.
Nah, actually, the weather was
now
about
I
the
think
same.
about it. Well, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, he's no longer a guest. He's just one of the crew. Brother to the Night, how are you doing, good sir?
Once again, it's on.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's on.
Yep.
And right next to me is Longevity. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks. Great to see everybody.
All right.
Okay,
All
man.
right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I missed the conversation last week. I'll go on record to say I did not dislike the Jack Harlow album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't that bad, man. I feel like he made the album that Drake should have made. Not necessarily from the sound of it, but like he went to a lane that Drake has been kind of stepping his toe in the water on a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like if Drake were to take that route and just do a whole R&B album and embody that persona for himself, that would have stood as like, you know what I'm saying? Not an answer to none of the shit that's going on. It's just me musically. This is what I represent. I think it would have fared better if somebody like Drake would have did an album like that.
You don't think he did that with Sexy Songs for You?
Nope, not at all. That was like a no. I wouldn't.
This Party Next Door album featuring Drake.
Exactly, and it wasn't really like, if you're gonna really step into that R&B lane, like you acting like you got the chops to do, then give us an R&B album versus still trying to rap and do, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
You don't think Views was that?
nah, I don't think Drake has.
Views is like the closest thing to an R&B album we got from Drake.
He's tiptoed around it though.
Mhm.
Like he's like kind of teased it a little bit, but like I feel like I actually rock with Drake. I'm a Drake fan, and regardless of whatever's been going on, I feel like that's what he needs to do. He needs to kind of embody that R&B angle, at least on one album. Just give us an all R&B album. Let us hear from how you feel from that point of view versus still trying to be the best rapper alive type
But
shit.
how can you say that though when he's never given us an all hip hop album either?
I mean, I don't know.
You know what I mean? He's never given us just all one type of album.
I would say, all right, so like the way that hip hop kind of has evolved, a lot of artists give you an album that has like that R&B feel to it, but it still feels like hip hop. You know what I'm saying? He's given us a song or two on an album that's more pop. It's like Coming Home. That was pretty much an R&B song or a pop song, so to speak. But the meat and potatoes of the album was our rap, although it was the leading single for the album. So like I feel like Drake needs to kind of
Hold On, We Coming Home.
Yeah. I feel like he kind of needs to lean into that a little more, especially if you feel that's comfortable enough to make that your title track for an album. I feel like you want to do that. It's in you, but it's like you don't want to, you know what I'm saying, go full-fledged with it. I don't know. It's just my thoughts.
Well, you never know what the summer's going to bring us. Maybe that'll be when Drake decides to give us a full whatever project.
Nah, Iceman ain't gonna be that.
Iceman?
Nah, he's trying to get redemption.
I just hope he focuses on what he does best. And, dude, you lost the battle. Let's just move on.
Well, the thing about that for me is, like, I don't know what to expect from. I don't want to hear. I've already heard, what did I miss and all of that stuff. I've already heard that stuff from you, man. So, I just don't know You teased the little stuff with the little Pinocchio stuff about somebody's lying and all that stuff, man. I think you should really just scrap that whole idea.
That ship is sailed.
But what I really want to hear from Drake is
Nothing.
I'd rather just hear like his thoughts, man. I don't want to hear nothing that nobody else wrote from you.
There's
for
nothing
you.
there.
I don't want to hear any other. I don't want to hear a packaged album or whatever from. I want to hear Drake. I want to hear So Far Gone Drake.
Yeah, man.
I want to hear. I even take Thank Me Later Drake.
Yeah.
Over the stuff that I've been hearing the last 4 or 5 years from dude, man.
I'll take Care Drake.
Yeah.
Anybody would take that one.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
But yeah, that's in a nutshell how I kind of felt about. We start talking about Jack Harlow, but like I feel like Drake could have did a better
Drake,
rendition.
Diet Drake, great value Drake.
Yeah, he could have did a better rendition if he had dropped an R&B album. I feel like it would have went over well. Even if his album was the exact same one that Jack Harlow did, I bet you money he would have gained a lot of fanfare.
Oh, no doubt.
Because it was Drake. And it could have been the exact same album.
But you expect that from Drake. You know what I mean? He's giving you a taste of that. It'd have been like, finally, he's giving us something that we wanted from him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And it would have been better. Respectfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, J. Cole's recent reflections on the Drake-Kendrick fallout highlight a tension between hip-hop's competitive nature and his personal commitment to staying true to himself despite public pressure. Let's watch this very short clip, and then there's a couple questions that we'll pose to kind of go a little bit deeper into this.
The world, right away, the world became like politics. Right. You're either Democrat or Republican. Right. You're either Kendrick or you Drake. And you got to pick a side, boom, boom. And I felt like the nigga that was like disgusted both ways damn near. You know what I mean? So when you say, did it get out of hand? It's like, creatively, that's not my place to say. Right. But I think the out of hand that I think is like, to me, is like disgusting how people try to use that opportunity, either show how they really felt about Drake the whole time, right, or just like pile on
that's a fact.
And tear this dude down and like create a narrative as if he's not great. It was a whole campaign and probably still is to this day. Right. So on one hand, it's like, yo, I feel weird and they're going to make headlines out of this. Just like when I see Kendrick get the moment he had, the pop out, the stadium, the Super Bowl,
the Grammys.
I'm like, I'm just as proud of this as I was when I knew him back then. But I also hate that for Drake. And I hate how the world turns on him. And simultaneously, I'm over here like, man, I hope Iceman go crazy.
Cool beans, man. All right.
He didn't say nothing.
No, he didn't. All right, so is J. Cole demonstrating a higher level of maturity, or is he simply trying to preserve his relationships on both sides of a divided industry?
That's what it sounds like to me, the latter.
Yeah. It feels like it to me as well. I mean, granted, he's had relationships with both of these gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was on stage, obviously, with Drake when some of the stuff was going off. He dropped his diss record that he pulled back, you know, and things of that nature. But
I mean, they song kind of is what
started everything.
The big three with mention is kind of what spearheaded the whole beef. So
yeah, but I don't know. What
he was ingrained in it.
I mean, are we in unison there, or do you got anything else to say with, that?
I know it sounds, because I enjoyed the back and forth. That was one hell of a weekend.
For a few weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But specifically when it was like, oh, okay, dropping. Okay. You dropping? Yeah, we dropping. But there is part of me that, can kind of agree when he said like the whole Republican Democrat thing. Because, I hate the fact that we've been critical of Drake here since the beginning of the show, and not as a way of, disparaging his character or who he is as a person, but just because we believe he is a product and he is a pop star. And that's not really us disparaging him. That's just us saying, hey, man, this is what it is. Let's not try to turn it into something that it's not.
Depends how you want to look at it. I think I would definitely say that I'm disparaging him.
Okay.
But I think in general, I think I agree with what you're saying.
No, and I just think that how when the East Coast West Coast thing kicked off, and that's more our era, to where I know people who said, "Oh, I'm siding with the East Coast." It's like, dude, you're from Illinois, you know, or I'm siding with the West Coast. I was like, you're from Colorado, you know what I'm saying? It was like that, to where, you know, people, I'm riding for Pac. I was like, why? You don't know him. Like, I just remember at that same time, like, I bought both All Eyes on Me and Life After Death.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I didn't have money in my pocket for either double album, you know, but now when we're talking about, when we move it so much forward into the social media era, you know, it does take on a whole different life. And, you know, we're probably going to talk about that a little bit later. So I kind of see where J. Cole is coming from, because it's like, now, mind you, he's probably cool with both these cats, you know, and so he doesn't, while he enjoys the sport of what it is that is the competitive nature of hip hop, you know, to see one person take such a serious L, you know, that's got to be hard to see. But at the same time, like, you see how Kendrick came up. It's hard because you're like, damn, I'm proud of that brother too, you know, but it's at the
behest.
Yeah. You know, it's like, damn, you know, why does one person have to have such a moment as far as like record sales, you know, notoriety and awards, you know, at the detriment of this other cat over here. Now, mind you, that's always how hip hop has been. You know, I mean, Kool Moe Dee had some other tracks that he came with after Mama Said Knock You Out, and we don't really care.
But I think this was different.
I did.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Go to work.
No, that wasn't one of those. He had a song, Hit Him With the Death Blow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about.
I think the difference was that this battle was much more than just a regular rap beef. This was almost like a battle over culture in a way. It was like the culture that Kendrick represented versus the culture that Drake represented. And to me, that's the split that I saw. The split that I saw was more so down the line from that. And you saw people take sides, generally speaking, people that cared a little bit more on one side and people that were generally just kind of more casuals on the other side. So when we tie that into this particular question, you know, J. Cole and playing sides, it does feel like he's also trying to play both of the sides. If the maturity exists for J. Cole way back then when he pulled his records off, like the Might Delete Later off and all that stuff, then it still exists now. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not consistent with who J. Cole is. He just seems like he doesn't have any type of concrete feeling on either side almost.
I believe that it's kind of BS when people say that, you know, it was Democrat or Republican, you had to pick a side, you had to choose a side. I don't believe that was the case, man. I don't think that was really the issue in the battle. It was just whether or not who won or lost. And all of the actions that came up after that was when people were choosing sides, quote unquote, like, why are you still winning? Why are you going out? Why are you crying? Like, it got blown out of proportion than what it really was. All it was people going back and forth about who won and who lost. Nobody really was saying, nobody thought Drake should die because of this rap battle. You know, even regardless of Kendrick saying it or not. You know what I mean? I don't believe that anybody really had it. There was no threat of violence in this beef for real.
Wop.
Here's what I'll say.
He said it, but I think that was metaphorically.
So metaphorically, I do wish metaphorically Drake would die. Not him, not him from the person of who he is. No, I don't want him to die. But the type of artist and product that he is within the culture of music and industry and within hip hop, I don't want any of that to be around at all anymore. People that just chase the product and what people like. I don't like. To me, this was Kendrick attacking that, and from that perspective, I can pick a side, and that's and it was very easy for me to pick a side because I've always been this way, and I've always felt this way, and I've always felt, to Terry's point, like he said earlier, that he was a fan of Drake. Sure, there's some stuff that Drake has done. I'll be like, that's not bad. That is a good song, but everything else that he represents in general, being one of the biggest artists within this hip hop space, I can't vouch for it, and I don't like it. And some of it's even bigger and beyond him at this point.
I think that point in general is beyond him. Because, like, essentially what you were saying is, and you could tell me if this is not if I'm doing too much with this, but it's like Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? Like, because that's all Drake is Drake is like the Michael Jackson of this era. You know what I mean?
I can never give him that.
But that's what it is.
You're saying
though.
of his era.
Yeah, of his era. Drake is the Michael Jackson of his era, the one that everybody props up and everything he does is golden. Everybody has to, everybody gives him their best songs. He didn't do it. He had nothing to do with it, but he's the product. You know what I mean? Drake is that.
But I would also say that the thing about Drake that differentiates himself from other artists of the past is the fact that he literally stands for nothing outside of popularity and success.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I can't say that about Mike.
No, you can't say that about Mike. Mike stood for something.
That's what I mean. So it's like Drake is this new level of just complete shallowness.
Mm-hmm.
And, from a human perspective, individual, I'm sure that he's a sensitive human being. But
he's absolutely sensitive.
But the way that he operates within the industry is very much everything that I'm opposed to.
Yeah, he's very very corporate moving. But as far as like J. Cole and being mature in this take, I wouldn't say I feel like he's pretty much playing the middle because like we've already determined he has a relationship with both of these artists. He feels like he's cool. I mean, he was on tour with Drake at the time of this going on. He had 2 singles with Drake at this time. And I think their idea of what they were trying to do, bringing Kendrick on into that fold, Kendrick wasn't having it. He already knew he had problems with this dude.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, I'm not going that route.
Man, I really wish y'all could hear that clip that I just sent y'all, man.
I had to listen to it in a minute.
Because it's Cole talking about when he first heard Like That. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do want to hear that. But in the same token, I feel like as far as what the people did during this whole battle, I mean, may the best man win at the end of the day. Who cares what somebody feels? And if Cole had engaged in the battle, I feel like what he should have said, it would have felt like it was me and Drake against Kendrick versus, because it sounds like a whole lot of being concerned with how Drake feels about this and the outcome that Drake had to suffer. Drake is not suffering right now. I mean, granted, he hasn't given us the music that we may have wanted to hear. The singles ain't doing what we wanted them to do or what he thought they should do. There's a whole lot of, let me put this filler out and it's not doing nothing. All right, Drake took the fall. Simple as that. Let's move on. There's too much apologetic things going on behalf of Drake. I feel like people are upset that Drake didn't fare as well as people probably thought he should have in a hip hop battle. And to Lone's perception of things, it's clearly people that were more, concerned with more involved hip hop versus the pop hip hop side of things, how people sided with what they rock with or whatnot. And that kind of went, awry. And then of course that led to the lawsuit and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, we got a great battle out of it. Nobody lost their life. They may not be friends. They weren't friends in the first place.
Yeah.
But as far as Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick, the common denominator is J. Cole. So J. Cole being the middle part of everybody's cool with J. Cole, I feel like that's the only reason he's taking this stance, because he still, I feel like in his heart, wants to have these relationships with these dudes.
I feel like that as well. I think that would be my takeaway from this, is that J. Cole is trying to put that out there that like, I don't have any lost feelings over anything. Mm-hmm. Like I'm here. I am in the middle. It's cool. I'm here if you care. If not, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think just ultimately, man, the issue is Drake fought the machine. He didn't really. He fought. It was with Kendrick, but he went against the machine, and the machine chose a side.
But also the machine propped him up for so many years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Drake was the machine,
and he thought he was bigger than the machine.
I feel like Kendrick fought the machine.
Yeah, I feel like Drake is. I feel like that was illusion, because I feel like from one perspective, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, sure. Drake in the lawsuit was going up against the music label, and you're not going to win that. But at the same time, I feel like that's also one of the reasons why it was so stupid, because Drake is the biggest representation of that machine.
Yeah.
And so it was like, who are you trying to kid? Like that's why it was dumb, because he's literally going at everything that made him who he is.
Agreed.
So yeah, I don't
And
know.
everybody's missing the big picture.
Here, let me play this real quick. This clip.
Kendrick, make that song Metro Boom. How did you feel about it?
So I listened to it, and I have two first reactions. My first reaction is, that shit is hard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a hard-ass verse, undeniable. The beat crazy, the song is ill, and I'm like, he went crazy. That's my first reaction, because I don't know what I'm listening for, you know what I mean? I'm like, that shit's tough.
Right.
My second reaction is, not now, nigga.
Right.
My second reaction is like, it's, no, nigga, this is inconvenient for me. Right at that time, I had just got off tour with Drake. I went on tour with Drake, we did that. And I had Might Delete Later in the Chamber, which was the project that you on, as a mixtape.
Right.
And then I had the Fall Off finished. I probably had to tweak a couple mixes, boom, boom, but I had this album finished, the Fall Off, right? Let me tell you something else. At that time, I had been working on the Fall Off, which was done. And by the way, that somebody leaked it. I know who leaked it and who said it, you know what I mean? But it's cool, you put it out there. It's like, yo, he was on 2 joints.
Kendrick was on 2 joints, or Drake was?
Kendrick.
Wow.
Guess we will never hear those joints.
Yep.
I mean,
it's over for that.
So that there was a rumor about that, right?
Yeah.
I think I even said on the show, I feel like Kendrick would probably, I heard the rumor that Kendrick was supposed to be on one of these or something. It's interesting.
And it was supposed to, he had initially stated that he was going to drop Fall Off 8 weeks after Might Delete Later. So that kind of changed
push
the
the
whole
whole
change the
thing.
rollout.
Yeah.
And then we got the let out.
Yeah.
Yeah. God bless.
We survived it.
Yeah, man.
Second question. How does J. Cole's refusal to engage in the traditional blood sport of rap beef shift the expectations for what it means to be a top-tier lyricist in the modern era? Or does it?
No, I don't think it really did anything. I kind of feel like we've touched on this conversation a lot, considering J. Cole and what he did. In that same interview, he talked about how he didn't decide to kind of apologize until an hour before he went on stage. So like he engaged in the battle, and he said it was always weighing on him, so to speak. So an hour before he went out at whatever show was at Lollapalooza or
No idea.
one of them shows he did.
It was
Dreamville. Yeah, it was.
I
an
thought
hour.
that was on the interview with Nadeska though.
It might have been. It was one of them interviews he did. But anyway, he said that it wasn't until an hour before the show he felt like pretty much bowing out of the whole situation. And we understand Cole's whole mannerisms about that whole situation, as far as him not wanting to be a part of it and sticking his toe in the water and then backing all the way out of it. I mean, I don't think there's really much I can say as far as how Cole felt about that already hasn't been said, especially coming from like somebody that always raps about being the best and is still rapping about being the best, and whoever comes at me is going to get this, that, and the other. But you know what I'm saying? This is just Cole. So like, whether it be a blood sport or not, certain people are going to feel a certain type of way. You either going to engage in it or you ain't.
Yeah. No, he's a top tier lyricist. I just wish he made better albums.
He's confusing, man. I just I don't know what to say about the guy, man. Like,
He just kind of exists in his own lane in a way. And, you know, like, to be honest, when I don't feel like this is necessary, like, I feel like this is kind of off brand for J. Cole to go on an interview with Cameron to talk about.
Well, he don't want that lawsuit.
Well, maybe that's what it is. Jay-Z sat down for an interview with GQ. Among the topics that were addressed during his one-on-one was his thoughts on the Kendrick, Lamar, and Drake 2024 rap feud and kind of his ideas on battling. So let's play this video.
it's wild. It's been 2 years, man.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and we're still talking about it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And the last pillar is battling. We love the excitement, and I love the sparring and the music you get. But in this day and age, it's so much negative stuff that comes with it that you almost wish it didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, because it's almost like it's a final thing. Now people that like Kendrick hate Drake.
Yeah.
No matter what he makes, no matter what he says, and it goes far too. It's like attack on his character and his thing, and it's like, I don't know if I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's helpful to our growth. Too far.
Yeah.
It's like bringing kids in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't like that. You know, maybe I've grown in a space that is probably, you know, I sound like the old guy wagging the finger. But I think we can achieve the same thing as far as like sparring with music, with collaborations more so than breaking the whole thing apart.
Yeah.
It could stand it before because there was no social media and there was no thing. And, you know, you had the battle and it was fun and then you moved on.
Right.
Right now, I don't know if it could stand it with the technology that we have.
Because it takes up so much oxygen.
It takes up so much oxygen.
Yeah.
And now it's just like every day they're just trying
They're
to
still talking about it.
It's not just talking about it. Not like, yo, this song, I like this.
Yeah.
No, it's like trying to tear down the people's life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like trying to wreck this guy's marriage or this guy's relationship with his child. And it's like, I don't know if it's worth it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you think? Has battling reached the end?
I don't think so. And the way that Jay talks about it, he acts like he doesn't come from an era with two of the biggest MCs at the time both met their demise from rap battles or beef, so to speak. Granted, that's not.
Isn't that what he's kind of saying, though?
No, he's saying that it's in a place that's worse.
Oh, right. So you're saying it's not worse than what it was.
It's not.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I see what you're saying.
I feel like there's not. I always like to bring up morals and things of that nature, but like morally, some of the things that were addressed in the battle maybe should have been left off of the table. Now, I agree with that part of it, but nothing is as final as death. So we lost two of the greatest MCs to death during a battle which was a East Coast, West Coast beef. Although there was artists on the East Coast and West Coast that rock with each other, it was still deemed the East Coast, West Coast beef because of back then paper print and TV. All right, so now it's evolved into, of course, everything can happen on the net. We're fed these things a lot faster, instantly. As soon as something happens, we know about it, and we can have our own say in it too. So, like, as far as feeding the monster, I agree from that point of view. Excuse me, but like, as far as it being worse than it was, I don't agree with that. Now, if people are continuing to side with this artist and that artist based on how they feel and so-called burying the artist, at the end of the day, these are very rich individuals that will be okay and are still around to still do their art form that they were put here to do. Now, until something happens to where they can no longer do that based on what happened during the beef, I'm not totally against what happened. You know what I'm saying? Now, if people come to grips with a battle should just be left on, this is what it is, that has no bearing on the consumers that take it somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like back then when Tupac and Biggie died, it was fueled by the media. Now, everybody can be considered the media because everybody is feeding it every single day. So I don't think it's on the artist if they have a disagreement with each other that they can't address it because of what other people are going to think about it.
Do you think maybe there's more of a responsibility for artists nowadays as opposed as there was then because of everything that's heightened?
I mean, to a certain extent, but again, I feel like as long as they follow like the moral code of the battle, like OGs talk, you shouldn't mention kids, you shouldn't mention other family members. It should be just left at this is me and you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Other than that, I mean, even Jay-Z in his battle with Nas, he mentioned leaving condoms on a baby seat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now his mom is the one that told him, hey, that's not cool.
Yeah, too far.
You went too far with this. And he got on the radio and essentially apologized for that particular song. But he didn't wipe the beef totally off. You know what I'm saying? That was a moment.
Wasn't the end. Yeah.
That wasn't the end. There was a moment to where they both came out on stage on the I think it was the I Declare War show. But like Nas was still addressing Jay-Z on Godson and on what was the other album, the double album,
Street's Disciple.
He's still addressing that.
Jay was
beef.
still addressing Nas on Blueprint 2.
He was still they both were addressing each other. You know what I'm saying? So Jay, being one of the persons that came from one of the top 3 battles of all time in hip hop, he's showing growth as far as feeling like it's going too far. But he's also 50 some odd years old and his content is a lot different now. And I mean, It is what it is at the end of the day.
That was my point right there. Like, this is the first time we get in perspective from somebody at 50-year-old that lived through a battle and actually is able to reflect on what they did, and some of the things that they said in the battle and how things played out. You know what I mean? And people that got involved, et cetera, et cetera. And there's probably some regret there. Some of the things that they said and some of the things that they put out. I think what happened between Drake and Kendrick is Jay and Nas just on steroids. You know what I mean? It's
in a social media era.
Yeah, you know, it's the exact same thing. It's just it played out differently. So me being 50s year, and I'm not 50, but you know, I'm closer to 50 than I am 30. There would be some regret in some of the things that I did probably at that time. You know what I mean? So I don't fault either one of them. You know what I mean? It's just an elder statesman giving his point of view on what happened. Now, is he able to say that it's done and it's over? No, I don't believe that he can really say that for himself, because there's always going to be some beef. I think we need somebody like him to say something, because I think, for instance, if Youngboy was to get into a beef with somebody, he could easily go, oh, hell, beef with Dirk and whoever the hell he was beefing with.
Youngboy is beefing with somebody right now.
Yeah, there was lives lofts in that. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I'll cut my granny off if she don't see it how I see it. Kendrick's 38 years old.
Yeah.
Kendrick isn't as old as Jay-Z or young as Jay-Z was when him and Nas were doing this. They were at least, 10 years younger?
About 30, because remember
right?
Nas had you 30 and you doing Tybo.
He's 36 in a Karate Kid.
Yeah, Tybo Ho, something like,
That's still one of the funniest lines
true.
to me.
Yeah.
Tybo Ho, yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, I feel like at 38 years old, 36 years old, 37 years old,
it's around the same,
you've been through life enough at that point to kind of know who you are to some degree. And I feel like when Kendrick said the things that he said, at least from Kendrick's perspective, all of it seems valid to me. I don't think he went too deep. I don't think he cut too hard.
No,
you know, I think
he gave Drake exactly what he asked for.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I think Drake's thing was, Jay's point is that song where he was talking to his son.
Yeah,
and he was
I
telling
think that
him,
was respectable, because he didn't have any ill will towards his son.
He didn't, but
he also to the other point I was talking about, the whole author dude. I don't know why I can't.
Michael Eric
Dyson. He called his son a black man in that song.
I get all of that, but how would you feel if somebody went to your child and told your child, "Hey, your daddy a bitch"?
Hey,
maybe his daddy is a bitch. You know, I think it just kind of depends. You know, hey, I don't know. I don't. You know, obviously Jay-Z is Jay-Z, but like, which he also mentioned in this interview. But you know, I don't know, Jay. What do you say?
I mean, I'm conflicted because once again, I am that person that is knocking on 50. And, you know, just like when we talked about last week about how some of these rappers need to let that beef go. You know, I see it from a different perspective. It's like, you're all rich. You know, you in here trying to talk about, you know, a certain level of street politics. And it's like, dude, you're all getting car service when you get off of this plane, and you are going to pay for your kids, you know, private school tuition, and you make sure your HOA so you can keep your gated community steadily gated.
These people are rich for the gated communities.
Yeah. So exactly. And so it's sometimes it's hard for me to, you know, still engage with certain things when I know like these are rich people's problems, and you really don't have these problems like you think you do, you know. So I understand what Jay-Z's I do understand where Jay-Z's coming from, because it's like, okay, it was good for that weekend or that couple of weeks where we were so engaged, but was it good for the culture overall? You know, did it actually perhaps do some damage to this thing that we call hip hop?
I don't feel like it hurt.
You know, cleansing.
And now to me, there's part of me was like, hey, you know, it was like, you know, when you pulled back the curtain, you saw Oz, You know, and he's not really a dude that can send you back to Kansas. He's just, you know, a dude with some
mortal,
some special effects, and it's not really a lot he can do when you think about it. You know, so I'm conflicted because I can go back and forth between all of these things because I care about the culture, and I see where like some of these things are not, are actually detrimental to the culture, and we need to stop. We need to call people to the carpet for their horseshit. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, well, maybe we go too far? We like, okay, yeah, you basically pulling somebody aside and saying, yeah, you know your daddy's a piece of shit. You know, is that too far?
We talked about that man's wife.
Yeah, but
and said that his best friend, you know, was but really at the same his child's father. So
you know, Kendrick did say, you know, don't tell no lies about me. I won't tell the truth about you.
Yeah.
And so, like, sometimes that's your warning to stop. Yeah. And you didn't take the warning, so you got
everything you asked for.
You got everything you asked for.
Well, what do you think about the idea of battling reaching the end? Do you think it's reached its peak?
Battle leagues.
No, because this is hip hop, and there will always be battles. There will always be people who may not mess with each other on a personal level, and it's going to make it onto maybe not wax because, you know, that's not really what's done these days because it reaches the internet is wax.
It's going to end up in MP3.
Yeah, it's going to wind up streaming now because people get clearances to go ahead and make their songs that are beef related. But yeah, I don't think that's never going to stop. There's always going to be people in hip hop who are from the east side of somewhere and the west side of somewhere else.
I think Jay's point when he was saying it though, because we just played a clip of it and we didn't play the whole thing. I think his point is that it's been corporatized. You know what I mean? Is that if that's a word, I don't know. But
or corporatized.
Yeah. Hip hop beef prior to this, it was just some street shit. You know what I mean? It was, you put out regular tracks, you put out these tracks, they get played in clubs, et cetera, et cetera. We've never seen it on this grand of a stage where somebody's at the Super Bowl playing a diss song about an artist. You know what I mean? So when he's saying that it's dead, I think it's just the corporate is coming here into hip hop battles now, and it's turned it into something that's completely that it never was before.
Yeah,
I think he was more so.
So to that point too, he also mentioned in there, he's like, well, when you think about graffiti, and you know, like, or he's like graffiti or breakdancing, he's like, that's not really a part of hip hop anymore.
Yeah, he talked about it being an Olympic
graffiti's
sport.
Not really a part of it. I mean, sure, it's great. You know what I mean? You know,
it evolved into Keith Haring and Basquiat.
Sure.
Yeah.
And same with DJing. It's kind of the same. You know, he mentioned about, you know, the DJ used to be in the front, and then, you know, the MC was part of it. But so I think with that context, that's where the whole kind of framing came from, to where he was saying, well, MCing and battling came from the same thing. You know, battling came from that nature. I kind of agree with him. Don Will had something that he said that was actually, I think I have it saved here. Don Will from Tanya Morgan.
Yeah, okay.
And, but he said, Jay-Z saying battling shouldn't be a part of the culture anymore, about to dominate every conversation. But I hope somebody clarifies that battling wasn't an pillar of hip hop. It was a means to sort the talents of people practicing the elements.
Exactly. There we go.
Breaking, DJing, MCing, graffiti to a lesser extent had battles involved, but battling wasn't the main thing, which I agree with.
Touche.
So,
great point, Mr.
A test your mic type of situation.
Yeah, and that's what it always was. Like, how good are you?
Right.
You know, it wasn't. I mean, when I was coming up, like, sure, there was battling and stuff, but it wasn't never like if I would get on a record with somebody that was a top tier lyricist or something, like, we are gonna just try to
out-rap each other.
You know, it wasn't necessarily like this angry thing at each other. You know, don't get me wrong, that exists, but
the angry spoken words that sometimes we see is, you know, as the nouveau riche of battling, if you will.
But I feel like battling, in the sense of what Don Will is talking about, was more so what it was built on, not necessarily the, hey, I don't like you, let me let me attack you from this angle, you know, east versus west, even though that has kind of always existed.
Yes.
You know, so
yes, but like even like the whole I'm better than you was about, you're the top person on the totem pole.
Yeah.
So in order for me to be revered in the same thing as you, or looked at as somebody on your same level, I have to bow to you, essentially.
I have to be better than you.
I have to be better than you. And then what Jay was saying is collaborations is where it should exist.
Yeah.
So what you were saying as far as if you get on a song with somebody, of course I'm gonna try to out rap you. But I don't feel like the essence of if somebody is on top, I shouldn't gun for that position because it's always been a part of hip hop. Now, I also think he touched on a lot too of the element of social media and how it takes different legs because social media is involved and you're not waiting on a print. You're not waiting on a Source magazine next month to tell you what the next information is.
Mm-hmm. This interview dropped today.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It dropped today and we're already having a conversation about it. You don't have to wait on that anymore. So I think he was alluding to there's so many voices being involved in what's going on that it's taking a different meaning. And also, I mean, you have a whole court case going on about a rap battle that happened. Those are the elements that should not exist or shouldn't have been considered in a rap battle.
Yeah.
And I feel like that may be what he's touching on. But as far as it being worse than it was before, nobody has lost their lives. I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
Even in rap battles where it wasn't as good as these rap battles, you had situations to where one of T.I.'s homeboys got killed. You had a situation where what's his name? Jeezy's homeboy got killed. You know what I'm saying? There's always affiliates that get killed based on a beef that's deeper than just a rap beef. So I feel like this is healthy that it was left up to just the music, essentially.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? That I don't feel like is a bad thing. If you get to talking about things that go on outside of the music and how it you know what I'm saying, elevated to where it's not even about the music anymore, that's a different story. You know what I'm saying?
But couldn't you argue that this battle kind of turned into that, just not physical violence?
Yeah, I could, but at least nobody's lost their lives.
Sure.
And everybody is still very well off monetarily that was involved in this battle. And I feel like regardless of how we feel about how successful Drake's music has been versus how successful Drake's has been since that battle, there's still two successful artists that it doesn't matter if they never drop another thing for the rest of their career, they're still going to be well off.
You are now listening or watching the New Old Heads podcast. Our official 1-hour episode is released every Saturday at noon Eastern, where we share our exclusive uncut 2-hour episode to our YouTube members and Patreon members early every Wednesday. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Indie City and Vinyl, Drake-Kendrick, and Bringing Down the Band. And most importantly, you. You can support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads, where we embrace the new, respect the old, and remain ahead. So, the Kid Mero's fiery response to DJ Akademiks calling him a DEI hire highlights a deep-seated ideological rift in hip-hop media between those who aim to build and preserve the culture and those accused of exploitative gossip for financial gain. Now, the Kid Mero had like a 4-minute long, at least the video I saw was like a 4+ minute rant of him just going off on Akademiks. We're going to watch a portion of this here, and then we'll talk about it a little bit further.
But there's a lot of sons out there that are not mine. You know what I'm saying? I don't claim you. You're not on my taxes. You're not a dependent, bro. But you depend on me to survive. You don't make nothing. You don't do nothing. You don't add nothing. You are net negative to hip-hop culture. You are net negative to society, gang. You know what I'm saying? You a page 6. In the flesh. You a diabetic page out of the New York Post.
Damn.
You fat hamster. You a one-trick pony. You know how to do one thing, and that's exploit poverty, misery, and violence for your own monetary gain. And not all money is good money, but I'm good, daddy. You know what I'm saying?
I love how they put shook ones on.
I know. I'm going to have to like cut shook ones out as well at the same time.
New Yorkers love to say daddy.
Daddy.
I like how you do that, Daddy.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
So does Mero dedicating a segment to this quote-unquote war of words validate Akademiks' influence? Or is it a necessary defense of the professional integrity of hip-hop institutions like Hot 97?
A little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both, man.
Yeah.
You can't deny Akademiks influence. You
True.
know what I mean? It's just he caters to a certain segment and a certain demographic of hip hop. You know, and quiet as kept, DJ Akademiks is part of the manosphere.
He is.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's
so,
a red pill.
No, he goes up there and hangs out with
He don't got friends.
somebody whose name is not Myron Gaines and his little buddy.
Yeah.
Fresh and fit.
Yeah,
I can't stand them dudes.
yeah. Like I said, his name is not Myron Gaines. So you know,
God bless, man.
like I said, he came over here and got himself a slave name on voluntarily.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I think I think it would be kind of foolish to try to say that he doesn't have influence, because he does have influence. I think they're kind of in two different ballparks. I think whenever Akademiks crosses over into the institution of hip hop, whatever that is, then that's when he should be questioned on a regular basis.
I think one of the things that he said, man, that was stung for me, it was like, you know, when I interview people, it's people like Denzel, Barack Obama, et cetera, et cetera. And when you interview someone, it's like 6ix9ine at his house or
Did
something
he say
like
it was
that.
like on like drugs or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said, well,
Kanye West in a KKK outfit.
yeah, well, you know, hey.
I don't know, Jay or Terry, what do you guys think?
Well, I can't say he doesn't have influence just because I don't partake in any of his shenanigans, you know, but once again, I say it proudly, I'm knocking on 50.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to watch DJ Akademiks.
Come on, man.
Is he on Twitch or Kick or
Is it
YouTube?
Is he on?
Is
So
it?
he's on YouTube now?
I mean, I see clips of what he does sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, throughout the various, social media platforms that I do partake in. But like, if I can't see myself ever saying, okay, it's 8:00 or whatever time he comes on and start talking shit. Like, let me see what DJ Akademiks has to say about this. I've never thought that.
I'll check in from time to time.
Okay.
It's just if it's something that interests me. But just because sometimes he makes me laugh. You know, he is kind of funny to me.
Okay.
He's not somebody that our demographic goes to for influence, so to speak.
And also when people say, like, this is the thing that we really need to check as a word in this culture is the whole idea of being an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you influencing people to do?
Mm-hmm.
What are you influencing people to think or have discussions about? Like, I think that's something like, are you just an influencer because you want to sell things that make your ass look better in a dress or a pair of jeans? Okay, I guess maybe that you are an influencer, but I think
everybody wants to be an influencer.
You know, are you influencing people to drink more liquor or smoke hookah or whatever? Like, if that's what but you know, we can't. Being an influencer isn't in itself just something that's positive.
No, I think
that's
what people leave out too is that somebody can be a bad influence. You're still an influence on people that whose brain maybe hasn't fully developed. You know what I'm saying?
And I think
that's more so who looks up or looks at Akademiks
that's
as
more
a
his
source.
target demographic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people who, you know, are still trying to develop their frontal lobe, like those are the people who I feel like are influenced by these quote unquote influencers, and that's doing more damage to society than it's influencing people to do better in society.
And I think that's why it should be addressed by a Mero, because regardless of how we feel about how Akademiks come across to us and whether we pay attention to what he says, there's still a huge factor of people that look at Akademiks for whatever news he decides to give you. And it's kind of like the elephant in the room. At this point, you can't just say it doesn't exist because you don't rock with it. It's still out there.
Because even if you feel he's a net negative, you're talking about him. So somewhere along the way, he's created enough, you know,
Cachet.
Cachet within the culture or the anti-culture, maybe if you will.
Space.
Then that
it should be addressed.
That you're talking about him on Hot 97, which is a radio station in the biggest media market in the country.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I mean, whether we feel a way about it or not, you know, it's Akademiks.
I keep coming back to something Curtis King said a few months ago, where he's just like, you know, there has to be a counter voice to the voice out there.
Exactly.
You know, regardless of, you know, sometimes the net negative, if you will, is louder than everything else. And if you just write it off as being like, that's stupid, I'm not going to talk about it, and then you don't become that negative or the counter voice to that, sometimes is our responsibility even to say things, you know, to have those conversations, then it just exists.
Yeah,
you know,
the negative always gets shine. Like, even if you have a job, whenever you're doing a good job at what you're doing, there might be a slight little, okay, good job, you know what I'm saying? But as soon as you do something that's wrong, it's highlighted bigger than what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even on the net, when somebody does something positive, like the conversation we just had about Jay, we don't know a whole lot of the positive things that he's done. But we know every time something negative hops in the news feed that somebody's created on their own, it's always at the forefront.
Yeah.
And it's talked about in the culture. And somebody like Akademiks thrives on those negative moments. He doesn't talk about positivity like at all. We even see it locally with the local news source, Black Indie Live. How they always address the negativity a whole lot because that's what gets the clicks. That's what they feed on. They're like the Naptown version of an Akademiks. I'm going to feed all the negativity, and unfortunately, people like negativity. That's what they want to talk about. That's what they want to debate. When something good happens, something good just happened, but we're not going to address that.
I think part of it's like the idiocracy effect.
Yeah.
In the very beginning of it, it's kind of like, well, these two people here, they're reasonably intelligent. They're doing things with their life and they're just waiting for the right time to have kids. Well, these people over here are just kind of like, hey, you know, this guy's sleeping with his neighbor and everything else, and he's got kids and not educated and all this other stuff, and it's just whatever, right? Sometimes I feel like the negative media has the same effect where we can look at this stuff like, all right, from a perspective of, all right, I don't want to contribute. I don't even want to give this light.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to give it light because I feel like if I give it light, then it's bringing more to it. But sometimes when you remove your voice from that situation, it just gives more of the other voice to just live and to thrive. And so there's nothing counter to it at all.
To continue to drown out the positive other, you know what I'm saying, other side.
Yeah, it's so easy to hey, don't say nothing negative, just focus on the positive. Well, sometimes it's important to focus on the negative and to highlight the negative.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I didn't always think that way. You know, I for a long time, I kind of subscribed to the idea of like, you know, it's none of my business. Let me just keep it moving.
Hey, man, the Batman needed the Joker to be the Batman.
Hey, it's very true.
Yeah, but you could say that without the Joker
and society.
But you know what? That goes back to our billionaire conversation because, quite honestly,
that was a superpower.
Because let's just think about this: had maybe Wayne Technology or whatever the company it was not paying their fair share of taxes, and that's why there were so many mentally unstable people running around Gotham City.
Yeah,
because there weren't the proper resources to help these people. So that's where all the crime came from.
I mean, Batman's superpower is money, so let's just keep that out there.
Yeah.
So is Iron Man.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but at least Iron Man, like, you know, he was like an engineer. He could create things. Batman just had enough. He just had enough money to buy himself a super plane and like tanks
and a bunch of armor.
Yeah, and a bunch of other shit.
So is Mero successfully establishing a new standard for culturally relevant journalism with this segment?
I don't feel like he's the only person that's ever done it. I mean, I feel like everybody that is a journalist at some point has to acknowledge somebody that's like an Akademiks in their realm, you know, because essentially they're in the same realm, except one is on the radio and one lives on the net. But Mero lives on both essentially, because of course he already had the show with him and Deezus. He has a show with him and Mello that exists online. They had the show on Vice, I think, or was that Showtime?
That was both.
Yeah, okay. Vice and Showtime.
So I mean, he's no stranger to this area, and I feel like what Mero is doing, I think that hasn't been done before, is somebody that has been successful online first before they became a radio host. So he's kind of unique in that lane in itself. But I don't feel like as somebody that's he's establishing a new standard as far as just talking about Akademiks, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah, we've held Akademiks' feet to the fire.
Yeah,
sure.
You know, there have been other rappers, other
media
influencers, like who've also, you know, had similar things to say that Mero has kind of
He
expressed.
called him a fat hamster.
Yeah, that was wild.
Erica Badu called him Jerry.
That's true.
Praying for you, Jesus.
Out here with the straight rodent references, but yeah, man. I mean, like, but some people say, hey, man, that's what comes with being success and having a light on you. You know, there's people going to be wanting to tear you down, and that's what the people who it probably stands for. DJ Akademiks would say. It was like, of course, like, look, he acknowledged you.
Do you agree with Mero's point that he's a net negative?
Yes.
Akademiks, yeah, absolutely.
For the most part, yeah.
Is there a
Akademiks and Adam 22 are very similar.
Absolutely.
What are the positives from DJ Akademiks and what he does?
Positives? Playing video games?
Is that what he does?
Well, sometimes.
He needs to invest in a camera that doesn't look like shit.
Yeah, I don't
every
really
time
know.
I see his footage, I was like, you getting all this money? Like, you don't even look like you got
It's kind of like Joe Rogan
in a ring light.
That's true. Joe Rogan's isn't very good either.
I think it really plays into the allure of Akademiks.
You think?
He's just like me. You know what I mean? He's got a setup just like me. I mean, I watched Akademiks rise to ascension. You know what I mean? Like, first interview I saw, he was interviewing Charlemagne. He was kind of like a Charlemagne flunky. And then he grew and he started that
the
war on Chirac stuff, man, and that blew him up, man. And then he was,
which was
to the move from there. Yeah.
Are there any positives? Do you see him in the current space?
It depends. It depends on how old you are.
Some of the stuff he did with Joe Budden wasn't bad.
That was great, actually.
Yeah. It's a good contrast.
And it spoke to the difference of, like, we were from the Joe Budden era, and the Akademiks fans are from, you know, that era. You know what I mean? So it was like the old man versus the young man. You know what I mean? It was something that was needed in this time. And unfortunately, you know,
after that Amigos interview, it was kind of like, nah, I'm cool. Ain't that what blew it up, essentially?
No, State of the Culture was
it kind of came out on hot from the top.
I remember.
I'm saying as far as blew it up, as far as it went away after the whole Amigos thing.
Oh no, because they tried to put Star on there,
but that was terrible.
That didn't work. But I remember, you know,
what's your guy?
What was it called?
What's State of the Culture?
State of the
Joe Budden on Revolt.
No, I'm talking about what was actually on. It came on every day. What was the thing?
Everyday Struggle?
Everyday Struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't think that, but Everyday Struggle, I mean, like, look, I remember that was appointment viewing for me.
It was.
Like, now part of it, I think I was unemployed at the time, so I could get up every morning and watch it. But at the same time, I was like, oh, I do want to check this out. It was almost like a hip hop part of the interruption for a minute. You know, so I had appreciation for that until it wasn't a thing anymore.
Until he wasn't in the passenger seat, and then it all kind of made him just go all the way negative.
What's your guy's name, man? What's the dude that would filled in for Joe after Star left?
I don't know. I was literally just thinking that I can't think of.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know.
Man, I can't.
Was it Mouse?
No, I can't. I'm mad. I can't remember.
After that, honestly, after Joe Budden left, I really didn't pay much attention.
He was Dave East manager.
Yeah, I can't even remember. I didn't watch it no more after Joe got off of it.
Wayno,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, I watched it a little bit more, you know, because I F with Wayno, but like it still just was like Joe had a different energy when he would really call people, especially I remember when Yachty came on. Like I was like, he just had a different stance and morality to the things that he said. He wasn't just trying to interview people.
Joe is Joe, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking though, I can't. Number one, which I think is interesting, I don't know, and I've never met anybody that watches Akademiks outside of what you just said. You watch them sometimes. I don't know anybody. Maybe there are more people.
And they just don't talk to you about it.
Yeah, maybe. But I also don't. I can't think of any positives, and I'm trying to think of some. Like I think I don't know if there really are any. Like
I'm one that like to get several different viewpoints. So
watching maybe from that perspective.
Yeah, watching Akademiks from time to time is like watching Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like like
Newsmax.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I
Like,
literally never watched news, man.
let me go over here and see. I've heard it from this point of view. Let me hear it from what's going
Ricky
on
Lake
over here.
point of view.
Yeah, you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watch and listen to some of his takes. I never really agree with any of them. That's how I can say that is a net negative, essentially, as far as how I see things, and especially his contribution to hip hop or lack thereof. I don't feel like I'm kind of where Mero is. I feel like he hasn't added anything that if he disappeared from whatever genre we consider him as, that we're not missing anything.
Even when you just talk about content creation.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the definition of a culture vulture in a way.
Yeah. I mean, we've called him that too.
All right. Well, if you're out there and if you have some positives for us.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Akademiks,
tell us why.
Put us on
me to
game.
it, yeah.
You know, we could just be ignorant of what it is that he really brings to the game.
I do think the contrast, I think that is a good point. I mean, you're definitely going to get something. He's definitely like a Drake stan.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get a different perspective on a lot of
I had
stuff.
more listens to Kendrick on his end of the year wrap up, which was crazy.
It's fair. All right. Well,
thank you for tuning in to episode 478 of the New Old Heads podcast. We are going to see you on the next episode. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Patreon, which is only $5, and we will see everybody in the comments. Peace.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Slap that like, hit that bell for notifications.
All that good stuff. New Old Heads.
Throw down that box.